Hello, hello, and welcome to the Book Buzz Show. I'm your host, Cheryl Brooks. And if you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. If you enjoy the upcoming show, please like, follow, subscribe, and share the broadcast so others also can enjoy it. And for those of you who are new here at the Book Buzz Show, we do discuss the book and the characters with, a little bit. We don't give any major spoilers or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that. And in addition to being a live broadcast, the Book Buzz Show is also a podcast. So you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts with the Book Buzz Show with Cheryl and check us out when you're on the go. All right, we have a great show in store for you this evening, and I'm excited to talk to this author and about this book that was just released this week. And the guest tonight is Victoria Christopher Murray, and the name of the book is Harlem Rhapsody. And Victoria Christopher Murray is the New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of more than 30 novels, including the New York Times instant bestsellers, The Personal Librarian and The First Ladies. Both novels Victoria co-wrote with Marie Benedict, as well as a 5 times NAACP Image Award nominee. A native New Yorker, Victoria Christopher Murray attended Hampton University, where she majored in communication disorders. After graduating, Victoria attended New York University Stern Business School, where she received her MBA in marketing. Victoria spent 10 years in corporate America before she tested her entrepreneurial spirit. She opened a financial services agency for Aegon USA, where she managed the number one division for 9 consecutive years. However, Victoria always dreamed of writing, and in 1997, she pursued her dream. Victoria originally self-published her first novel, Temptation, and in 2000, Time Warner published that novel. Temptation remained on, the Essence bestsellers list for 9 consecutive months. And in 2001, Victoria received her first NAACP Image Award nomination for Outstanding Literature with Temptation. Over her career, Victoria has received numerous awards. In addition to being a New York Times bestseller, The Personal Librarian was a Good Morning America book club pick, and named Best Book of the Year by NPR. The First Ladies was Target's 2023 Book of the Year. Today will be discussing her latest release, Harlem Rhapsody. Let me bring it on the screen. And I love this book cover. All right, Harlem Rhapsody, a historical fiction about Jesse Redmond Fawcett. And I'm all those who've been here before, I love a good book cover, and I'm loving this. All right, and without further ado, I'm going to bring on tonight's guest as well as my co-host for this evening, Katina Brown. Take this off. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
It's so good to have you on the show, Victoria. I really enjoyed this book, and like I was telling you off camera, I am obsessed with Jessie now, and I've been trying to find everything I can on her.
Yeah, it's interesting, when you say you're obsessed, I became obsessed with her, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And people say that as I talk about her, because, I've been doing this for 28 years, I'm not new to this.
Right.
Mhm.
And so, but people say that I talk about her differently than any book I've written. And so I think I'm kind of obsessed with her too.
What is it about her you think that has drawn you in?
It's really interesting. I have always loved the Harlem Renaissance, that
Mm-hmm.
time period, because I'm a writer.
Right.
How can I not be inspired by that? But I never knew that there was a woman who did this. Never knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as I was I'm on book tour now, and so I've been on book tour since last Sunday. And when I on Monday night I got to go to the Schomburg library, which is where I did all my research for the book, and that's the library in the
Yeah.
novel, because that was the library of the Harlem Renaissance.
Ah,
And
okay.
yeah, so it was in the book. It's called the 135th Street Library,
Right.
Mhm.
but it changed its name to the Schomburg, and it's a research center. So I spent 5 weeks researching her in there, and everything. And I realized that after 28 years, this is the book I've been waiting to write.
I love
This
it.
is the book that I've wanted to write. I've always wanted, how Jesse wanted to write a great American novel?
Yes.
I've always wanted to take this gift that God has given me and write something very important.
Mm,
And I think I've done it with a couple of novels in my past, but the reason I think this is important is she is such a crucial part of our history,
yes.
and no one knew her name.
Mhm.
Isn't that a shame? I cannot believe it because I didn't know anything about her until I
Mhm.
read your book, and I think it's poignant too that it came out this month, and
Yeah.
yeah, for Black
Yes.
History Month, yes,
Yes.
And because
especially
she's,
built around how she was about uplifting.
yes, and she's way more Black history than I am, and
Right,
so
right.
I just feel like the love I've had 5 book signings so far, and every single one has sold out. Never
Oh,
in my
Um,
career, never
oh,
in my
really? Okay.
that's
never.
awesome.
And well, they just started doing the ticket thing like in the last 3 or 4 years.
Mhm.
But even in the last 3 and 4 years, and I've had some pretty successful books with the
Right.
personal librarian, and we have not had every single venue sell out. Every
Mhm.
single one sold out.
Wow.
Did I tell you Jessie is putting her hand on?
Jesse's putting her. Jesse is
Still.
saying, "Look, it's about time y'all knew my name."
Right, right.
Mhm.
Looks like we have a few people in the audience. Let me just acknowledge. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we have Purple Jam Girl. Thank you for joining us. Antoinette, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tam Telling Tales, thank you for joining us.
Um,
And we have Instagram up. It doesn't show in the main feed, so if Katina, if you can help me make sure
mhm.
if
I
anybody
think I
comments.
recognize some of those names.
Yes. Um, They help, they support the show, but I know they also love your work as well. Okay, so I have to go back to, and let me bring it up. I have to go back to this gorgeous book cover.
I know.
Now, did you have input on the cover?
Yes, but I had input this way. Most of the time, the publishers take stock photos and put it together.
Mm-hmm.
For this book, everybody knew how special Jessie Redmond Fawcett was. Let me tell you what the publisher, Berkeley Random House, what they did. They hired an artist to paint that cover.
Oh,
That
really?
cover is an original painting. He that didn't even draw it. I mean, he kind of drew it out so that we would see what it would look like.
Right.
He painted that cover.
Oh man.
And everybody's talking about it. And it was really weird because when I first saw it, I really loved it. But the colors are different, right?
Yes.
They're orange. Who would want an orange cover?
Yes, I noticed that.
Theta, who wants green? And then you put orange and green together with a little crimson. I was like, what is this? But the artist said he looked up the colors of the Harlem Renaissance.
Okay.
And so he got a palette that fixed that. And then what I love about it is that it moves, with the people dancing the cover.
I love that.
Yeah, and then
it's
if
just
you
so
have
intricate, all the
it
different
was
details.
so intricate. And if you looked at the back of the book, they had the little people dancing on the back. I've never seen such a beautiful cover.
It is gorgeous, gorgeous. Love it, love it. And we have a few people in the audience saying congratulations on being sold out on your tour. And let me see, Myra is saying that she's going to get her copy. And Tam is also saying she can't wait. Oh, she said hers will be here tomorrow. Okay.
Well, I'm glad because I just, as I said, this is the book I've been waiting my entire career to write.
I love it. And how did you come to know about Jessie? Because like I said, I never heard of her before, and I love history, so I was surprised.
I never heard of her before, so we're all in good company. Because what I wanted to do was to write a solo historical fiction. So when I wanted to write my own book, didn't know her name. And then I started thinking about what time period would I like to look at. And there were two time periods that interested me. The 1920s and 1960s. Because I said in the 60s, I could put the music and the hairstyle and all of that in there. So I was looking at time periods, but didn't have a story. And I finally found a story in the 1960s. This is all going to come together in a minute. I found a story in the 1960s about the women who helped to put together the March on Washington.
Yes.
And then I said 1920s, I'd love to look at the women in the Harlem Renaissance. I couldn't find anything. Like the names that were mentioned was Zora, Nella, but I don't know what I was looking. I knew that wasn't what I wanted to write. I didn't want to write a story I wanted to dig deeper. And then I listened to a podcast that by Tremaine Lee that was called Harlem on My Mind. And one of the episodes was about this woman named Jessie Redmond Fawcett. And I was so fascinated because he talked about how she really ran the crisis and everything. And I was like, and how she discovered people. I'm like, what? So that she discovered Langston Hughes. So I went back, started to look up what did Langston Hughes say about her.
Right.
Good idea.
And as soon as I did that, I found that he said she was the midwife of the Harlem Renaissance. I was like, okay. But here's the thing. I submitted 2 proposals to my editor because I was still thinking what I wanted was the 1960s because I was fascinated with the March on Washington. Wish I could have been old enough to go. So that's the one I wanted. And my editor, a white woman, called me up, read them both. She said they're both excellent, but it must be Jessie.
Okay. I love it, and I think she was right. Even though I would have also loved the civil rights, but that could be the next one.
She was right because I'm an author, and I write novels, about the Black middle class. She wrote the very first novel about the
Yes.
Black middle class,
She
the
did.
very first one. It makes me sad that I was never curious enough to ask, where did that come from? Who wrote the first one?
Right.
And
Right.
it had to be her story, because everything we read, whether you're a reader or a writer, we stand on her shoulders.
That's true.
That's true. That's true. And it's a shame that, her name isn't more well known, but it seems like it's getting there now coming.
Oh
Because
yeah.
when I was
Yeah.
looking, I saw a few, it came up a few times on YouTube and Google. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming together. It reminds me of what's happened with my novel, The Personal Librarian. No
mhm,
one had ever heard of Belle DaCosta Green, and now
right.
the JP Morgan Museum has a whole exhibit on just her. Like, everybody knows her name now. And so I'm really hoping that this is what will happen with Jessie Redmond Fawcett, because she needs to be known. She started an entire literary movement. How
Yes.
do we not
Movement.
know her name?
Yes.
Right. I love it.
Whole
Love it.
movement.
Love it. Love it. Now, when you were doing your research, was it difficult to find? I know we are talking a little bit on it, but how difficult was it to find information on her?
Yeah, so it was very difficult. But once you, like, at the Schomburg, that's the place where you go to research libraries. That's where I don't do any research on the internet.
Okay.
I go to, and so that's where you find all of the scholarly papers.
Right.
Mhm.
And so most of the time, the information I found about her was associated with W.E.B. Du Bois.
Mm.
Like, the
Mhm.
big information I found about her was inside his biography.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's what I found out about. Should we say it? His
Yes.
affair.
Yes.
Um, so that's what I found out about their affair, because the biographer who won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for that book. So that's why I trust it.
Okay.
Because David Lewis won 2 Pulitzer Prizes on the biography of W.E.B. Du Bois. He called them star-crossed lovers. And isn't that very specific? Like,
Yes.
he didn't say they were lovers. He said they were
Right.
star-crossed lovers.
Mhm.
And that's a term that we use with Romeo and Juliet.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Right.
right.
That's the only time I've ever heard that term used. And so then that helped me get what kind of a love affair it was. And then he said that they had a parallel marriage. Now, I couldn't figure out what that part was.
Right.
I couldn't figure it out. But I was interviewed earlier this week by Abby Phillip from CNN.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she understood what it was because their affair was over 14 years.
Yeah.
She said that was
Oh.
the marriage part. She said usually affairs are not that
Right.
long.
True. True.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, I get it now.
Mhm.
Because
And
then it makes it more of a relationship than
it's
just
more of a
Right.
relationship
Right.
than an
Explain.
affair. So that
Yeah.
made sense to me. But it was really in doing the research, was reading the biographies. There are letters.
Okay.
Now the letters don't say things like we're having an affair.
Right.
But the letters say things like, there was one letter where I really knew, and it was outside of the timeline of my book, but it was they had broken up.
Mhm.
And WEB is driving home from the train station. He said, I was driving home last night and I parked in front of your house and I saw the light on, but I just couldn't come inside. And that's not the kind of letter you write to your coworker.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I mean? That's not what you write to a coworker. So that's what you do with historical fiction. You kind of extrapolate
Right.
and use your common sense and things like that. Because I would have never written about their affair if I wasn't absolutely sure.
Sure about it.
Right.
And when I was reading it, I was wondering about that. Was it a difficult decision for you?
It was a difficult decision because I didn't want to, and you can't defame anybody. That's not what I was doing.
Right.
But I didn't want to make him say, oh, they had an affair. Well, first of all, everybody knows about WEB. You didn't know about WEB.
Yeah, around.
Yeah,
she wasn't the only one.
She was not the only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that was, in fact, one of the letters, or was an article. his first wife passed away, and he WEB remarried. He remarried when he was 83, and his second wife was 54.
Oh my
Wow.
And
goodness.
his second wife said, "Don't be fooled. We had a real honeymoon."
Okay.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. So some of
Is
the
that when he
articles,
kept telling when he kept referring with Jesse that he informed her that he didn't say
Different
needs, he
desires or
said he
something
had
like that.
yeah,
something.
I
Yeah.
read an article about that, and
Mhm.
I didn't want to put this in a book because I didn't want his wife to be, but he said something like he married a virgin. He
Mm.
said Black women were raised to be virgins. And what he meant when he said he married a virgin, he felt like he was still married to a virgin.
Mm.
Because Black women at this point, he was saying that were
Mhm.
raised to not have sex, not enjoy
Right.
sex, and he
True.
said he needed more than that. That
Mhm.
was
Okay.
in that was in an article actually.
Okay.
So I would have never put the affair in, and in fact, I did try to write the book without the affair.
Mhm.
But when I started doing it, there were plot holes. Like,
Mm.
how did she get to New York? Even
Right.
Right. Right.
the book she wrote, it was all about them.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would have had
Absolutely.
to you make up stuff, and I didn't want to do that.
I
And
Mhm.
think
so
it was I think it was the right decision because it like you said it would have
Yes.
been it would have been plot holes. It made the story fuller. You
Mhm.
got
yeah,
because I could relate just from
yeah,
like past relationships. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
they were both complicated. And
Hmm.
the reason I decided to go ahead and include it was, number one, it's the truth. And even when I used to make up characters, I always believe in telling the truth of the character.
Right.
But
Mhm.
the second reason I thought I was going to include it, because it was the truth, was these were two extraordinary people who was doing something very ordinary.
Yes.
Mhm.
They were just doing something very ordinary, and it kind of shows that ordinary people can become extraordinary.
Hmm.
Right.
While they were having an affair, she was discovering Langston Hughes,
Yes.
County Cullen. While they were
Yeah.
having an affair, they were running up the first and really only magazine for Black children.
Right.
While
Yes.
they were having an affair, they were running around Europe explaining, working with Black people all over the world with the
Yes.
Pan African Congress. The two
Mhm.
of them together were changing the world,
They.
Yes.
but yet they were doing this ordinary thing. And
Right.
and so I think people will be able to relate.
And I
Mhm.
definitely was. Like I said, it reminded me of earlier relationships. But now
Mhm.
in the book, um, I love too getting the interactions between when you bring in Langston Hughes and now I wasn't familiar with County Cullen. I had to look him up.
Really?
Yeah, I had to look him up.
Me
Oh
too.
wow. I mean,
What about you, Katina? Were you
I looked him up too.
oh my
Mhm.
goodness, he was almost as famous as Langston Hughes.
really?
The only reason he died very young at 40, but he was the one that married W.E.B. Du Bois' daughter, Yolande.
Okay,
Oh.
okay.
Don't you remember this? Remember W.E.B. pushed his daughter to marry County Cullen, and County was gay.
But I don't know why I never put it, and I need to look up some of his poems
Yeah.
because I used to actually have I actually recited a lot of Langston Hughes in school, so of
Mhm.
course he stood out to me, and I was glad to see
Yeah,
him
but
in
County
there.
Cullen's a big one. And in Black History Month, a lot of young girls recite County's poem, Little Brown Girl.
Okay,
So yeah, he was very Were you familiar with Gwendolyn Bennett?
nope.
Oh, okay. So have to look more up. Jean Toomer.
Oh, and nope, and I looked him up too,
Yeah.
and yeah. Now I was familiar with what's her name?
Nella Larson.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so these are all the writers of the Harlem Renaissance. If you look up the writers of the Harlem Renaissance, you're going to find all of their names. And at the end of the book, Zora comes in. So she had actually
Right. Of course I
mentored
remember I
Zora
know her.
later.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, those were the writers of the Harlem Renaissance. I knew all of them.
But you see, it seems like we hear more about Langston Hughes,
Right.
Zora. Um, and Myra, you're asking what name are you asking about? Is it oh, the one that I said,
Is it Jesse Redmond Fawcett that she's asking about?
or maybe County Cullen? Is that the who you're asking about, Myra?
Oh, yeah, County Cullen. But
County.
all of these, if you were to know, if you like, I studied the Harlem Renaissance. I knew all of these names, knew every single one of them. Didn't know her name.
Mm. And I'm so glad that we are learning more about her.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what it was. I just felt drawn to her, into her story. Because I'm telling you, I was looking all over. Because I was looking for the speech that she gave when she went
Yes. And
abroad.
so the speech that she gave is what made her an international star when she
Mhm.
went across over to Europe with WEB for the Pan
Right.
African Congress. And in
Yeah.
Brussels, she was asked to speak about the advancement of Negro women in the
Mhm.
United States. And so when I was one part of my research was I read every crisis magazine because you can find them all online.
Oh, okay.
I read every crisis magazine from October 1919 till January 1925.
Okay.
And that was great research for me because it taught me how people spoke. It taught me what issues were important. And that's where I found out about the speech that she gave. That's where I found out that they were in an aeroplane. That's what they called it.
Yes.
I used their language before
Right.
my language. That's how I discovered all of that.
I love
And
it.
yeah, and so I didn't have her speech. I really wanted to find her speech, but
Right.
I had what they said was so important about the speech, and
Mm.
so I just wrote the speech, which is one of my favorite scenes.
Mhm.
I love that. I
That
love
is.
that scene too, and how she brought up the other women,
Yeah,
up and coming women. Yeah, Negro
Mhm.
women.
yeah. There were three. Only at that point, there were only three Negro women in the country to have their PhDs.
Mm,
And
mm, mm.
she showed only three. But think about it. This was 50 years after emancipation.
Mhm.
Right, right.
And
Right.
so, it was only 50 years, yet these people were part of the talented 10th because WEB already had his PhD from Harvard. He was the first
Right.
Black man to get his PhD from Harvard. She had graduated as the first Black woman from Cornell, and then she
Mhm.
was the first Black woman to have her Phi Beta Kappa key. And
Yeah.
so all of this was new. It was all
Right.
new. And in fact, she can be you can attribute this to her as well. Black literacy rose during that time exponentially.
Mm, okay.
And think about it, because with the Crisis magazine, now Black people
Mhm.
had something to read that was positive.
Right.
Right.
So even those who didn't go to school really, really wanted to learn how to read.
It did.
And so she was responsible for putting things in the most important periodical in the country so that
Mhm.
Black people will want to read. And so she was responsible for increasing Black literacy at that time.
Right. And like it was, I think it was mentioned too in the story that they were excited to see themselves portrayed, because
Yeah.
they were usually portrayed in a degrading
As
way.
servant. And
Yeah.
yeah, they were
Right.
only servants. Before that point in novels, they were either slaves or servants.
Right.
Right. The only
Yeah.
two things that we can be, I guess. But you know what I was when you were talking about her degrees and everything. Another point that was made in for the period is even the women who did get the degrees, they still came out and could not
Yeah.
find jobs
Right.
in their field, and that went on for up into the 70s, really.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Those three PhDs, they never had a chance to use their PhDs
Mm. Mm,
Mhm.
mm, mm.
because they couldn't be hired. But you know what? My dad used to say, nobody can take away your education.
True,
That's
true.
true. That is
I
true.
agree. I agree. Now this is your third historical, but this is the first one solo. Is that
Yes,
correct? So,
yes.
what's your favorite thing so far about writing historical fiction?
All the women that I'm uncovering.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my favorite thing is this feels important.
Yes.
You know, I've been a writer for 28 years now, full time. And I know that I'm always supposed to entertain. I will never stop entertaining. And I always used to have a little message here, try to have a little something there. So
Mm-hmm.
people were getting a little bit more. But now I feel like I'm writing very important books. Like
Mm-hmm.
100 years from now, people can read Harlem Rhapsody and learn about Jesse Redmond
Yes.
Fawcett. I'm hoping to do an HBCU tour in the fall
Oh, I
and,
love that.
and go and teach because you can't, we're teaching the Harlem Renaissance. We are learning about the Harlem Renaissance for
Right.
sure.
Literally.
Right.
Mhm.
We're learning about it for sure. But
Yes.
we are not, we are learning about it, but not telling the whole story.
Right. And
Right.
in these times, it's important to, amplify these voices and these people.
Yes.
JB is saying, what goes around comes around. You have reintroduced us to Jesse. Yes, yes, she has.
I'm so excited. And you know, I think some of us may have known her and not realized we knew her because I remember in high school we had a choice of books we could read.
Right.
And I remember Plum Bun being on there.
Oh,
But
really?
I didn't remember, but I don't, because I remember how stupid the title sounded to me, which was why I didn't want to read that one. Yeah, because it just kind of sounded kind of dumb. But you know, I was in high school.
Right, right. And another thing too is now I want to read her first book, her
Yes,
first
I did.
novel.
That was another thing I did for research
Mhm.
because they say that sometimes a person's first novel
Mm-hmm.
is biographical. Mine wasn't, but there are people, and I know Rashanda's wasn't, but
Mhm.
another writer friend of mine. But when I read There Is Confusion, and I
Right.
read that before I started writing, it felt like it was about her and
And
W.E.B. Du
WB.
Bois.
W.
I
Mhm.
love that. Um, Now, okay, we're gonna get a little bit into the book for a bit. We won't give any two thing away since it just came out. But
Mhm.
what was a standout moment for you, Katina? In what scene was a standout for you?
I didn't. I had. There were a lot of scenes that stood out for me. Um, I, I just felt I appreciated, I guess, Jesse's father's influence.
Yeah.
Mm,
Even though, he was, he had passed away, I felt like he was still influential throughout,
yes.
throughout her decisions. And, she always reflected on him. He was the first one, to give her the book that,
Right.
Yeah.
so
That
I,
led her to WEB.
right. So I
Yes.
thought that was kind of that I thought that was a really good moment or a theme, I guess, throughout the book or something like that. Um,
I love that too. And I wrote down that I love the dynamic, the bond between her. Now, was the mother, the stepmother, was that really
That's
Stepmother.
real. Yeah.
that's real? Okay.
Yeah.
I,
I would never make up those kinds of things because
okay.
that changes a person's character.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It changes a
Mm-hmm.
person's character. So, most reports said that she went to New York with her sister, but
Mm-hmm.
I found two different addresses.
Mm.
Okay.
And so how could you, and I know her mother wouldn't have let her go alone. So I
Right.
reimagined the story with her there. But that
Okay.
was her mother. Her mother was a white woman,
That's right.
a Jewish woman who converted to Christianity because her
Mm.
father was
Right.
Reverend.
a pastor. And
Yeah.
here's what was funny. Because I try to find out who the characters are before I write.
Right.
So I couldn't imagine why would this white woman marry a black man with 7 children.
Mm-hmm.
She had 3 in
Mm-hmm.
like 1870 something. Like, why would you marry a black man at that time? Why?
Yes.
Just why? I just couldn't figure it out. And
Mhm.
my agent and I tried to talk it through, and my agent said, well, maybe because she was Jewish, they treated Jews like they treated blacks, and
Yeah.
that didn't feel right to me. And I don't
Mhm.
know what it was, but I think this is what happens when you're a researcher, and I don't mean to be a researcher, but you start going places where you don't even have a reason why you're going there.
Right.
And I went to the
Mhm.
census, and I think I was just trying to see a little bit more about her family. I was thinking maybe I could find out more about her mother and father. Well, I found out her first husband was black.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Yes, and so she was an
Mhm.
integrationist, and she believed that black people and white people should completely integrate, be complete integration. And I
Okay.
felt like she was going to do it herself because she had six mixed race children
Yes.
with two black men. She was going to integrate the globe herself.
I love it.
And so she just really, she married two black men.
She
And
did.
so then I got it, you know,
Okay.
then I could create her character,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because I got it. And anybody who believes it that much, like she had six mixed race children
Right. Right.
with,
Mhm.
and she was down for the cause.
She
And
definitely was.
she was the only mother that Jesse knew.
Right.
Yes.
And so she was very influential in her education. It's believed that she got Jesse into the Philadelphia High School for Girls, which was very
Okay.
prestigious. It still is. That she was the one that pushed her to Cornell, and that she was just Jessie was such a young girl when she came into her life that she said, she took over. And so even
Um,
though she had white skin, sometimes she acted like a black mama.
yes.
Yes.
Because if you were to ask me my favorite scene is when Jessie and her black mama, her white black mama, had the showdown about
Yes.
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yes. Yes. And that actually was one of my, because I love the dynamics
Good one.
between her and her mother and her sister, and then you
Mhm.
take in the time that all of this is taking place,
Yes.
and I got it. But I also like the dynamics between her and WEB, because he was complicated as well, and he was a man of his time as far
Yes.
as how he felt about women, and
I love how you
um,
say that though, because I always ask people to read this book with 20th century
right,
eyes.
right,
Mhm.
Don't read it with 21st century eyes.
right.
Right.
Read this book, because if you read it with 21st century eyes, you're going to be throwing the book across the room.
Yes,
And I don't
yes,
want you
You
to
will.
do that. I want you to save the book. It's a pretty cover.
right.
Let's save the book. But if you read it with 20th century eyes, read it with 100 years ago, because this is the 100th anniversary of the Harlem Renaissance. We're
Mm,
in the 100th year. And so if you understand, women didn't have a right to vote.
right.
Right.
Women weren't even allowed to be career people. So Jessie was navigating through that. She wanted this career, and she had to fight racism, but she had to
Yes,
fight sexism among her own people.
yes.
And
It-
so just remember that. And I think people throw it across the room, they get up and run over there and get it back up.
And pick it back
yeah,
up.
it was a few scenes where between her and WEB where I had to remind myself, okay, this
Right.
was back in the
100
early
years
20th
ago.
century. Yes,
Yeah.
And all she's trying to do is survive.
right.
That's right.
Because a lot of black women will say, and even my white co-author read it for me, and she was like, why doesn't Jessie just curse him out? She would never do that. She would
Right,
never do that.
She
She
never
was
did it.
raised to be prim and proper,
right.
Mhm.
but she also knew her goals. She
Yes.
was smart. She knew her
Mhm.
Yes,
goals. And cursing him out was going to do what when she wanted to get where she
right,
wanted to go?
right.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
And JB is saying that would make my day because I'm an old school in terms of life and time.
Yeah.
Oh, old soul, I mean, in time.
Also,
Yeah,
yeah.
old soul. But yes, very well done. And
Very well.
I felt I could feel the 20s was the era. You could feel it all throughout the book.
And thank you for that, because people tell me all the time when they were reading it that they felt like they were in Harlem
Yes.
in the 1920s. But
Yes.
I spent about 5 weeks up there in Harlem, Even though it was 100 years later, Harlem still pulses with an energy that no place else does.
Yes.
And there were certain street, the streets are all there, so I could walk the streets. But there are certain buildings, like the church is still there,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
so I can
Oh, yeah,
imagine
the
them
church.
just walking. And then I know one of the brownstones where Jesse lived. The library is still
Oh
there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I walked to the library every day,
Mhm.
and just worked in there. Langston Hughes is buried. His ashes are interred there at the library.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's
Okay.
yeah. So I was just like soaking up Harlem and the Renaissance. It was like I wanted to never leave. It
Yes.
was just amazing.
And I bet you, people who haven't been to Harlem just through reading the book, I bet they'll get a lot more people coming who are there for the first time because
That's
you do
right.
it makes you want to go and experience all of that, even if it is 100 years later. But you want to
Yeah,
experience,
but
yeah.
some of it is still there. Like I would love to, after my tour is over, take people on a walking tour
Oh, that would
of
be good.
Harlem and all the different places that we know she was where she went.
The
Yes,
restaurants.
JB, I'm with you. I need to plan a trip too. I've been to New York several times, but I'm trying to think, have we ever gone to Harlem? I know we've been to Brooklyn and Queens
I
and all of that, but I can't remember because my cousins always take us places, but I can't remember if we went to Harlem or not.
think it was
And
one.
then the best thing about being up in Harlem while I was working was the food, girl.
Oh
Mm.
my goodness.
And
I
now
love
those
it.
restaurants were not there when she was there, but I'm telling you,
Oh
from
man, I can
Sylvia's,
imagine.
from Sylvia's to Melvis to the restaurants, the
Hmm.
famous world class restaurants in
Yeah.
Harlem.
And I
Yeah.
think I've heard of Melba's. They did some,
Yep.
yep, some kind of documentary or something on it. I can't
Yeah.
remember what I was
Yeah.
watching. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now the luncheon, was that also real? The luncheon that they
That's
gave,
yep.
and
Yep. One. In fact, on the exact 100th anniversary last year, March 24th, 1924, so it was 2024, the
mhm.
New York Times did a full spread on that dinner.
Oh really? Okay.
And the first line in the New York Times article says, Jessie Redmond Fawcett sat in that room and wondered how they had hijacked her. Right, because
She
that's what
was salty.
I felt
yeah.
so bad for her. Like, oh
And
my.
later on, it was outside of the timeline of my story, but she wrote Elaine Locke a letter that
Oh.
all the things that we wanted her to say to
Yes.
Yes.
WEB, she cursed him out.
Good.
She's like, you took that from me because you
Hmm.
jealous because you can't write.
Right.
I
Hmm.
mean, it was just really amazing. I
Wow.
loved it. She finally got it all out.
Yes, I love that. And the ending was that correct or did
So,
you?
so remember the dinner, the second dinner, the opportunity meeting where all the
Yeah.
writers were
Oh,
there.
yeah. Hmm.
That happened. They WEB and Jesse had a worse breakup than in the book.
Okay.
Okay.
And the reason I changed it was because people would read how they broke up in real life was he was just so jealous of her. Like
Hmm.
he was supposed to be the crisis.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
And she was becoming bigger and more popular than him. Subscriptions were going up. And he accused her of mismanaging funds.
He did.
I
Oh
think that's
no.
something I think he regretted that because the
Right,
letters we find afterwards is like I have regrets.
right.
Mm.
So I didn't want to portray that, especially because I had to end the book there, and I didn't want to portray the ending, not and wanting people to know how he tried to make up for it.
Hmm.
So I just gave him a better ending. But
And
he didn't really believe.
I
He
think when
didn't
I was
really.
looking at something, they were saying too that they stayed in touch for.
They stayed in touch
Mhm.
because he invited her to County and Yolande's wedding. And then the letter that he wrote afterwards, I passed by your house and I saw your
Right.
house. And then we have a few letters. It's so funny because most letters he wrote to her, he would call her Miss Fawcett. And then these letters, he would say, "My dearest Jessie."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Love it. But my standout was actually the conversation between her and Nina.
Yes.
At the end,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah. So I without giving anything away,
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that happened, but let me
Okay.
tell you why I put that in there, and I could extrapolate it. In the biography that I found out about Jesse's affair,
Right.
David Lewis, and I put all of the books in my historical notes so people can go and look it up too.
Okay.
So it's in the back of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that Nina knew most of the women, and
Mm.
not only did she know most of the women, she befriended most of the women. And so what that taught me was she was no victim.
Mm.
She knew that this was 100 years ago. She knew her husband was never going to leave her.
Going anywhere.
But
Right.
what was she going to do? Because she couldn't even get an apartment in her name because women couldn't have an apartment in her name.
True. True.
What was she going to do? And so she lived the life that was best for her.
Yes.
I believe he loved his wife.
Mm-hmm.
I believe if he had met Jesse first,
Mm-hmm.
he may have married Jesse. I think Jesse was the perfect, talented 10th woman for him. She
Yes.
was brilliant. She
Yes.
was gorgeous. You know, when she was young, she was gorgeous, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but he met her, you know, he had met his wife first.
Yes.
And he would have married her because remember I told you his second wife, he was 83. He married a 54-year-old. He was 14 years older than Jesse.
Oh man, I'm pulling up. I found this when I was looking up her information. I found this photo of her just for people in the audience. Uh,
So there's a lot of photos of her. There's one where she's much younger.
Mm-hmm.
That where you when he first moved in, because this is even after,
oh,
because
this
there's
is
lots of
okay.
photos. But keep talking. Maybe I can email it to you, and maybe you'll be able to show it. Because she was and she's beautiful there, but
Yeah.
she was young, and when she
Yes.
and so let me see if I can find it. But keep talking. I'll find. Yep, here it is. So
JB said it's cute stuff. Yes, she was.
yeah. So how can I email it to you
Yeah,
or
you can or you know what? Put it on Messenger.
okay?
Would be a lot quicker.
Cheryl Best Life.
Okay, so how can I do this?
Wow.
I'm not good at. Oh yeah, okay. So
Cheryl Best Life. Brooks.
keep talking. I'll get it. Keep talking.
Okay. And so, what did you think of Katina like a heartfelt moment? Because you know we always give our heartfelt moment as well.
Well, I felt like it was one of them was the big fight. But I feel like I think it was after they both recovered from it, and after she saw the tears with her, her stepmom, and she realized she went too far, and she said,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and it was like I felt that in my gut when she made that statement, and it was like, and then she had the Black Jewish white mama had to correct
Right.
her.
Right? That's the perfect way to describe her. She was a Black Jewish white mama. Because sometimes she was white, making the breakfast and the porridge and everything. And then sometimes she was like because after the big fight, and this is not to give it away, but make people want to read it.
Right.
The
Right.
next morning, her mother came in there and laid down the law.
Yes.
And she said,
Yes.
this may be your house, but let me tell you what the rules are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like these rules, I'll leave.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Oh my
And
goodness, that's how I'm going to describe her from now on. I'm going to describe, what'd you say, a Black, white, Jewish? You didn't know what she was. At any point in time, because
Yes, because that's how she came across too.
Came
Yes.
across, yeah. And
Yes.
sometimes I forgot that she
that
was
she was
white
white.
when I was
Mm-hmm.
hearing her, when she was talking to her. So
Yeah. Did you
okay.
receive it?
Mm. Did you send it to you send it to me
I,
through email?
no, I said you said messenger, right?
Yep, I don't see it. Did it come through? Okay, let me try to refresh.
Yeah, this one. I went.
And you
I
know
went.
what I like too? The way Langston was portrayed in it when he first met her in WEB and how
How
shy he
nervous he.
was.
That's all very true. One of
Okay.
the things, and so one of the things that you will notice when I'm writing is every scene I try to anchor in history. I try to anchor it in history, meaning that it happened. So that dinner
Mm-hmm.
happened. I don't know what they ate. I don't know what the discussion was, but I know that they ate at the Civic Club. I know that Langston asked his mother to go because he was too nervous to go alone because
Mm-hmm.
he was, 19, I think, at that
Yeah.
point. I know he said, I want her to go because if she goes, then she'll do all the talking
Right.
and he won't have to worry about that. So did you get it? I really want you guys to see this
Yeah,
picture of
send it through the email. I think that'd be better because for some reason it didn't come through on Messenger.
her. Really? Okay. So let me see how to
But
go back.
what was a good, also another good, it wasn't really heartfelt, but it was, I guess it was a good conversation, but it was between Georgia and,
Oh, and
That
Jesse,
was
when
yes.
when Jesse tries to confront Georgia,
yeah,
and Georgia turns the whole
tries.
thing.
Oh man.
Jesse's like, oops,
And that
oops.
definitely was yes. She told her
Yeah.
you have to learn your role, what your role
Yeah,
Learn
know
is.
your
your
place.
role,
Know your place. She said, I know mine. You need to find yours.
right? Right? Jesse thought she was about to go do something. I need to know. And she like,
Oh man.
and you know what I loved about Georgia? She was just honest. Now, how I found out about her affair with um with WEB was through a letter that she sent him saying, I had another dream about you last night. So that's again not what you say to your coworker.
Right. Right.
That's just not what you say.
And
So there
and you know
was
what I thought too when I said bad idea when she was deciding that she was going to host
Oh,
their
okay. You know that really happened,
that
right?
happened.
really.
Yeah, so you guys got to read the historical notes because the historical notes at the end are really as important as the story. Um, that was the only scene in the whole book that
Hmm.
I didn't have to imagine because WEB wrote a letter to his daughter describing that entire night. And it was such a bizarre letter because he described what color clothes they were wearing. He
Hmm.
described how cold it was and the car almost stalled.
Mhm.
And so I wondered why would he write such a none of his other letters were like that.
Right.
I think his daughter suspected something
Oh
and
yeah.
maybe that was his way of saying, see, nothing's going on because look what
Yeah.
Jesse did for us.
Yeah.
And that was her reasoning. But
Right.
I just thought I'm like that is, and especially
Mm-mm.
if the wife knows, how is she going to take that? So I thought when she first said it, I was like her sister. That's a very bad idea.
Yeah, that really happened. I could, if you read the historical notes at the end, I say, yep, that happened. My imagination can't go, and I don't think I'd be giving away anything by saying, I could never imagine a mistress giving a party for
No.
the wife.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That takes nerve for real.
Yeah. So
Uh
did you get it?
yes, I'm about to put it up now.
Okay. So do you see how young she was? That was the picture that you're about to put up is the picture that was put into the Crisis magazine announcing Jesse's role as the new literary editor. One thing I want people to know, and another reason why you can say, yeah, they were having an affair, there was never a literary editor before Jesse, and there was never a literary editor after Jesse.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay.
He
Now, is this
created,
the one with her and is that the one that came
so
through?
yes, that's the one. So this is every month in the Crisis, they had a special column. I'm calling them Men of the Month. They didn't even bother to change it to put her in there. They were talking about different men who had accomplished things. That's how much of a chauvinist pigs they were. And so so that's what she looked like when she arrived in New York.
Okay, yes.
That was the woman he was having an affair with. She's
I love
beautiful.
that.
She's beautiful.
Yes, she
And
is.
and so that was the announcement that she was the new literary editor of the Crisis magazine. So that was the young woman having an affair with, he was 51 years old at that point.
He was 51 years old.
Oh man. Yeah, she was beautiful.
Yeah, so you see that, and so she's still a beautiful woman even as she aged. But I
Yeah,
wanted
she was just
people to
older in the
see,
other one. Yeah.
yeah. So I just want people to see who the woman was. That's
That
her.
he was right. That he was so besotted by. Yes.
That's her.
I
And
love that.
that was the woman who graduated from Cornell. The first Black woman graduated from Cornell
Mhm.
University. First Black woman who was Phi Beta Kappa. All of that.
Right.
That was that. She was brilliant. She was
First.
Yes, she
brilliant.
was.
She
And
she got her master's degree. She studied in France for a summer
Mhm.
to learn how to speak French. So
Yeah.
she was Black girl magic.
Mm-hmm.
yes, and the fact that she wasn't able to, get her dream job
Yeah,
is crazy to me.
yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
those were the times that,
Those were the times. There was not a woman working in publishing, Black or white.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
she
mm.
was already doing what women were not doing,
Right.
you know,
And
which
that's
is
what he
why
told her too,
He did.
yeah,
you're literary editor already. Like she
yeah,
wanted more. Mm,
yeah,
mm.
She
But
did.
such a great job, Victoria. I really truly
Mm.
enjoyed this. And I read a lot of historical fiction and historical romance, and I was just engrossed in the story. And like I told you, just the fact that I wanted to get more of her story and
yeah.
is a
That makes me
testament
feel
to.
good.
Hmm.
And I want more and more people to just know about her. And so what I'm asking people, this is my first, I've made the New York Times with
Oh,
my co-authored books.
right.
And so this is the first time I'm writing by myself. So I'm really asking for support from people. I'm asking them, of course, go ahead and buy the book. Even if you're not going to read it right now, kind
Hmm.
of put it on your nightstand. Go ahead and buy it because all of those sales count. And then
Yes.
I'm asking everybody to share the news of Jesse Redmond Fawcett with 5 people. Just tell 5 people to go out and get the book because this is Black history. This is a woman who started a literary movement.
Yes. Yes.
That she did
Mhm.
that. So if you could help me, Elon Harris back in the day told me that's how he built his following. He just asked everybody to tell 5 people. And then here's something that everybody needs to know for any Black author.
Hmm.
For some reason, Black readers don't do reviews the way white readers do reviews.
Right.
And so we need the reviews because Amazon changes the algorithm based on the number of reviews you get. And so if once you hit 50, they start pushing your book out a little bit more. Once you
Okay.
hit 100, they push you out a little bit more. And this is for anybody. So if you didn't buy the book on Amazon, you can do the review on Goodreads, which
Mm-hmm.
still goes to Amazon. So
Right.
do a review on Goodreads or Amazon, and I'd really appreciate it because that'll help push the book even more.
I actually did my review already, but I have to go back out there because it for
I
some
did.
reason it wouldn't let me put the next star. So it's got 4 out there, but I wanted 5. So I'm gonna have to go out there once it's posted and try to
Yeah.
Okay,
go
but
in there and
four's good. Four's good.
well, no, I actually wanted 5 though, but and 4 usually is my top, but it's exceptional books. Is that right, Katina? I hardly ever give a 5, but I was
Yes.
giving a 5 to yours.
Oh,
So
thank
yes, I'm like, so I
you.
have to go back out there and once it might be posted because I did it yesterday. It might be posted now,
You
and
know,
I'll make
thank you
sure
for
to.
that. And so,
Yeah.
and that's something you can, I know, because you have a show and you're influencing people. I think we've got to get Black readers, and that's only because we don't know, but
Right.
we've got to get Black readers to the level of white readers to help out Black authors.
Yes.
And so the reviews, if you get an early copy, go and do a review. If you're reading it after the book comes out, go and do a review.
Yes, and I do. I'm much better than I used to be a long time ago, but I do leave a review because I know how important it is, and I'll definitely spread the word. I always believe me, if I love a book, I'm shouting it from the rooftop. So I'll be
Oh,
telling.
thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed this
Yes.
one. So
Yes.
I think people are going to enjoy it because people. Somebody asked me if what did I bring from all the old books I used to write to this, historical fiction, and I said I really still write drama. I know how to
Mm-hmm.
write drama.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I can, from my old writing life, I still bring the drama, but what I love is the history
Yes.
and
Yes.
these hidden figures who had major contributions. And
Mm-hmm.
how can a Black woman like this be hidden?
Right.
Yes.
How could she be hidden? And I
Right.
think and I can't bring her up by myself. I can
Yes.
show her to people, but I know I need everyone to lift up her
Mhm.
name.
Most definitely. And Tam is saying that she's been showcasing because she has a show as well, Tam Telling Tales. She's been showcasing her story blurbs all month, and she'll be adding Jesse for one of the days.
Excellent.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yes, and JB is saying VCM 2 times in one night.
Oh,
You are
I had
all
another interview. I had another interview earlier.
okay.
So there's
You have definitely been
somebody.
making the rounds, and that's
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Today was my first day since Sunday that I'm not having a book signing in the store. It was all
Right.
Right.
interviews today. So
Okay.
I pick up tomorrow again, and I'm going to be all throughout California.
And Jennifer is saying she banned them from Amazon, so she'll review on Goodreads.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. I know
Mhm.
Jennifer Copeland.
Yeah,
Hmm.
she's a big one too in supporting authors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we'll make sure we spread the word.
Hmm.
Antoinette says she's getting better at reviews, so make sure
Yeah,
you
and
get this a
and
review.
Same.
I get that because I don't believe authors should review authors. I
Mm,
don't.
Mm. Okay.
I think because I think reviews are for readers
right.
and authors should stay out of it. So I don't believe authors should review authors. I think the way an author can help an author is give a blurb.
Oh
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or if I enjoy a book, I will, say I enjoyed this book and put it on social media. But
Hmm.
I don't. And so I see somebody said, "When will I be on the East Coast?" I
Yes.
just did my East Coast tour. I was in DC on Sunday, New York on Monday, Atlanta on Tuesday,
Oh
Houston
my
on
goodness.
Wednesday, and I
Wow.
was in St. Louis on Thursday.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I caught some of your the one you did at the Schomburg. I caught some of that
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah,
That was, I'm so thrilled that my publisher is sending me around the country. But
yes.
I gotta tell you, signing at the Schomburg was a highlight. I pushed and pushed and pushed them because they don't do fiction books like this. They're
Oh,
scholarly.
you're
They're a
right.
scholarly place.
Right.
But I wanted to take Jesse home.
I
Oh,
You
love
know,
that. Love
that's
it.
where she was meeting. So, um,
She wants to know, are
somebody
you going to
said,
be doing NBCC next year or this year?
"Oh no, I won't be doing it this year."
She's probably going to be tuckered out, JB, after all of this.
Yeah, I won't be. And then did somebody say, okay, so in DC, I just did the Kennedy Center. That was a
Oh, I
big
bet that was nice.
outfit.
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, it was really nice. But we sold out like 2 days after Christmas. So I am doing a new one in DC either February 18th, February 19th. If you check on my page, my Instagram page or my Facebook page, I'll be putting it up in the next couple of days.
Sounds good. And JB, I missed her comment is way up, but she was saying that you need to make the tour, the
Walk
walking
tour.
tour happen.
I need to make the what happen?
The walking tour that you said through Harlem that you
Oh
might
yeah,
do.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
And I'm down for it too whenever you if you decide to do it.
Yeah.
Myra is saying she's going to recommend your book Sunday for her weekly Black author recommendations at her church.
Oh my goodness, they thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes, Ola. This is a great one for you. And she's saying lots of information. Thanks.
Yeah,
Um,
and you know what's funny because we talked around the book. There's a lot of
A
information in
yes,
lot.
the book,
A
yes.
lot.
And you all
and
are
I
going to
was
be just like me and Katina, obsessed with Jesse and getting more and more information on this wonderful woman.
because she started a movement and
But she
nobody
didn't
knew.
even
Yes,
know.
can you imagine if she never came into Langston Hughes' life or
Well,
yes,
this is what I say. I say if they didn't have an affair, there may not have been a Harlem Renaissance
That part.
oh
because
yeah,
he only brought her to New York to have her
Right.
clothes.
That's right.
true,
That's
true.
right.
Isn't
I
That's
that
love
interesting? Isn't that interesting?
yes.
crazy.
JB is telling you to come to Florida.
I think I actually am going to be doing some things in Florida, but it will be at like in April. And I'll so just follow me on Facebook, Victoria Christopher Murray, Instagram, Victoria Christopher Murray, and I will always post up what I'm doing.
Yeah, so just keep checking JB. She'll let you know
Yeah,
when
I
she's
am.
coming.
I know I'm going to be in Orlando, and I'm going to be in Southern Florida as well. I think West Palm Beach. I can't remember.
Okay. Love it. This was such an amazing discussion, and I truly enjoyed the book. And I'll make sure to keep highlighting it and
Thank
talking
you.
about Jesse. And Katina, did you have any other comments or anything before we go to the
I just
second?
happened when I was on Facebook, and I happened to notice that Harlem Rhapsody was included as one of Oprah Daly's 5 new books.
Oh, good!
I know.
Congratulations!
Yeah, it's the
Congratulations! That's wonderful.
Congratulations.
You
thank
know that just
you.
by that alone is going to circulate. So yes,
Yeah.
congratulations on that, and good luck with the rest of the tour as well.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for really pushing. You know, we have had a hard time connecting and you were and something you said, look, we're doing this book.
I really, I said I want to talk about this, but I want to get
You
you
were
on.
like, we're doing this book. And I was like, well, I'm traveling. She's like, well, when you get to LA, what time is it gonna be?
I said I'm flexible
Yeah.
because she said I can't do Monday. I said okay, well, I'm flexible. Let's do Friday. We can do Friday.
Yeah. And then so I was like, okay, now I gotta do this. Because Cheryl said, look, we're not doing this no more. We gonna do this book.
Yes, yes,
So this
and
was the book for us to do.
yes, it was, and
This was the
I'm
book for
so
us to do.
happy that we finally connected. And like I said, congratulations and continued success with the tour. May you have many, many more
Well
sellouts
deserved.
at your venues.
Well deserved.
Thank you so much. I had such a fun. It felt like I was just talking to my girls here.
Oh, I love that.
I had a good time. This wasn't my formal,
Right,
self.
right.
I was talking to my girls saying, "Girl, can you believe that happened?" Girl.
Yes,
No,
I tried to get. Yeah, that's how I like it to have just a regular,
oh my goodness,
conversation.
the best line though, the black white Jewish mama.
Yes, yes.
Like she didn't know whatever it depended on it. So I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
Because that was so perfect. That perfectly describes her mother.
She
Yes.
was. Yeah.
Depending on the mood, she was white.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes she was Jewish. Sometimes she was Christian. But when she
Right.
became the black mama,
Yeah.
you knew.
She was no joke because I when she when she looked at WB when he tried to shake her hand, she left him hanging for a minute like,
Like,
and I could see my mother, anybody, grandmother, somebody, doing the same. So yes, such a pleasure. But yes,
Yeah.
thank you again for coming
Oh,
on,
well,
and
thank
we're going to go
you.
into our second segment. We
Okay, so thank you, ladies. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye. All right, ladies, we're going to go into our second segment where we highlight give our weekly highlight, and let me go to that. Let me turn this off for a minute.
parched. There was so
And thank
much.
you all so much for coming out and being so engaged.
Mm,
And if you haven't gotten the book already, please get it because you will enjoy it. Take my word for it, and make sure to spread the word about Jesse Redmond
awesome.
Fawcett because people need to know about this great lady.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You want to go first, Katina? Or you want me to go first?
I
All righty. All right. So Katina's highlight for this
can.
week is choosing Theo.
Now this is new for me. I mean, it's not new. It's kind of in the paranormal
Oh,
realm,
is it?
but
Okay.
it's considered an alien romance.
Okay. Well, we kind of did it on. Remember, we the one when what's the word?
I get the name of it.
Craven the Oh, here it is. Kieran
Oh
the head.
yeah, yeah, we
Kieran
did.
the head tooth warrior.
Yes, that yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is along those lines. Uh, and what? So let me just read the synopsis real quick. Being kidnapped by aliens is only the start of Jade's problems. Thankfully, her rescuers, an alien race known as the Klakanians, are willing to protect her, but she has to stay on their planet for 1 year and respect the rules of their culture, including choosing a husband. Jade refuses at first, but decides to play along until she can find a way back to Earth. Theo, who's a scarred mercenary, prefers a life of solitude. He's stunned when Jade selects him as her husband. After years of being passed over, he never imagined he would be chosen, and neither did anyone else. Only one explanation makes sense: the curvy, enticing female must be a spy, and Theo's determined to break her cover using any means necessary. As Jade and Theo are forced to spend time together, their chemistry becomes undeniable, but neither can afford to bring love into the equation, especially since Jade seems determined to go home. After all, she can't possibly stay here, right? So, what I love about this, so Jade is the female main character. She's like witty. She has like she got comebacks and like that. She's kind of like the comic. She makes light of a lot of moments, even
Okay.
though she was abducted, which was really bad. She felt bad. She was in a cage, and they treated her really bad. Uh,
Okay.
and once she got to this planet, things shifted because uh the customs is in this plant on this planet is it's kind of like a it's big on the
Hmm.
matriarchs, and so the women have a lot more power than the men. So the men have to go to husbandry school, and they have to learn how to treat a wife and cook and do things like that. It's very similar. Their planet is very similar to Earth. So I
Okay.
think that's why they're able to, but they're still aliens. by the way. But the way that they pick a husband, the men are in a room, and the women have to pick out the ones they want, and they can test them out per se for a little while. If they don't want to stay with them, they move on to somebody else. If they have children with that person, um, then they can either stay in communication with the husband, the ex-husband, and the children, or they can move on to a whole new relationship. And it's not even frowned upon. It's just like
Okay.
the strangest thing I've ever read. But it's so because there's a lot of things going on with people that are always in these type of books. People are always trying to take over the world, and they're
Mhm.
always trying to figure out how they can the kidnapping all of these earthling women and trying to figure out how to make babies and blah blah blah. So
Right.
it's always a big scheme, and that's when she is abducted. That's when she finds out there's more women that are there,
Mm.
still in captivity, that are trying to get out and things like that. And the way it works with these men that are already on this planet, of course, they look like Theo in the picture, but they're
So they're not alien looking.
no, they're not
Okay.
alien looking. It's just they have the same anatomies, the same parts as Earthling men do.
Right.
But they have to please these women. They have to, and if they don't, they will be dismissed. And left. And this particular man, because he has a lot of scars, they look like tattoos to us,
Right.
but they're scars to them. And a lot of the women didn't like him because of them. And she's like,
Ah.
I don't get it. Like it's
Right.
tattoos.
Right.
It's beautiful. So it's a lot of things going on. Some kidnapping, and there's a lot of ups and downs, but there's also mating. Always in these type of books, there's always a mating ritual where there's some type of, when you find your mate, you'll know, type of
Right.
thing.
Right.
So that's a thing too. That's
Okay.
in here as well. But their story it's she fights it in the beginning, but she has to kind of, like she says, go along to get along until she can figure out how to leave. But they
Then
end
she
up
ends up
figuring
falling in love.
figuring things out. At the same time that they're uncovering an underground operation that's experimenting on the Earth women, experimenting on the alien men, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I read something similar. A sci-fi that sounds similar to this.
mhm,
I can't remember the
yeah.
name of it, though. I have to
It's
look
fun.
it up.
It's fun, and it's 7 books in this series. Uh,
Okay.
by the way, but I think I'm down to like 3 at this point. I got to
Okay.
book 3.
So if you
The
if you're continuing the series, then it is good for
I
you.
am,
Yeah.
and the
So yeah.
funny thing is, I actually am listening. I listened to it with my daughter. Uh,
Okay.
Again, this is another one that we jumped into, and the moments where we're both like,
Mhm.
it's pretty
Mhm.
cool. So,
I love that because I used to read with my mother, and even
mhm.
though sometimes we weren't reading the same thing, but we used to read together.
Yeah, yeah.
But I used to read a lot of her books too, so it reminded me of that.
Mhm,
So I love
mhm.
that you do that with your daughter.
Yeah, man, it's fun.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
love it. So was this a new author to you, Victoria
this is a new
Aveline?
author to me,
Okay.
Victoria Aveline, yeah, Aveline. Not sure how to say her name, but yeah, that's me. I think I'm gonna try to read some more of her work for sure.
Yeah, especially if you like the writing style.
Yeah,
Um,
and the narrator is pretty good, so that could turn you off a
right,
little.
right. All right. So mine for this week, and I was sticking with like kind of since the book that we read with Victoria, and because it's Black History, I went that route. So
Mm-hmm.
mine for this evening is Cane River by Lolita Tatamy. And this has I read this years ago, but it has stayed one of my top favorites all these years.
Yes.
And let me read the synopsis for those who haven't read it before. It is on a medium Creole plantation owned by a family named Durban, that the stories of four astonishing women who battled vast injustices to create a legacy of hope and achievement came to life. They were women whose lives began in slavery, who weathered the Civil War, and who grappled with the contradictions of emancipation through the turbulent early years of the 20th century. Through it all, they fought to unite their family and forge success on their own terms. Amid small farmhouses and a tightly knit community of French speaking slaves, free people of color, and whites, Tatami's great 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 grandmother, Elizabeth, would bear both a proud heritage and the yoke of slavery. Her youngest daughter, Suzette, would be the first to discover the promise and heartbreak of freedom. Suzette's strong willed daughter, Philomene, would use determination born of tragedy to reunite her family and gain unheard of economic independence. And
Mhm.
Emily, Philomene's spirited daughter, would fight to secure her children's just due and preserve their future against dangerous odds. This it was on Oprah's book club picks. Yeah, I have it too. I don't know where it is, though. It's somewhere in here. Um,
Yes,
book club picks,
ma'am.
and this was such a good read, and I loved well, I love anything that has strong family ties, strong family bonds. You get that with
Mhm.
four generations of strong, courageous women that were living in these tumultuous times, and they still were able to navigate these times and come out on, at least come out on top. It took some years, but
Yes.
so I love too that we get the different periods in time. She does a great job where you feel like, just like I
Yeah.
was telling Victoria, that you're immersed in the story and in the era that is taking place. If you haven't read this, I highly, highly recommend it. It's still, like I said, I read it, I believe, like in 2001 or something like that, and it's still like
Yeah.
one of my top picks. Um,
I
so you
saw this.
can't
I
go
read
wrong.
this one in a book club years ago.
Okay.
Might have been my book club. And everybody was a little intimidated by the
Oh, I
how
think
many
it.
pages it was.
Yeah, that's because it got to go through four different generations of women.
For
But
generations.
it didn't feel long to me, and I just I was so I just devoured this book too, and it's somewhere in here. I don't know where it is, but
I love I love the that they had like articles like in the book, like
hmm
the real like pictures of the articles.
yeah,
That was, yeah, this was a good one for
it was
sure.
really good, and like I said, I highly recommend it to anyone who loves historical fiction. Uh, and this is based on real real people of the authors. So you'll really enjoy it if you love strong females, family ties, family bonds. You'll love this story.
Hmm.
It's an epic story too. So and again, I love covers. I love this cover because it tells a story, just like what I was saying with Victoria Christopher Murray's cover. This one too. I love it.
And it's they have the I guess it's the map inside, like before the Civil War and after the Civil War, the way the river.
Okay, yeah. I have to
Um,
pull my book out because I can. It's been so long
yeah,
since I
yeah,
opened it up. Since I opened it up,
it's
I
good
forgot
stuff.
about all of that.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
Yes.
Glad you said that, and I was actually looking at this last week, and I was like, I wonder if I should
No,
talk
for
about.
real. Yes. Yes.
Oh my
And
god!
now, wait a minute. Now I have to order. Now I have to order Victoria's book too because I read it on ebook.
Me too.
But I want, of course, I have to get this gorgeous book.
Yeah, I have to get.
So I'm gonna order my copy as well of
Yes.
that. Yes,
Mhm.
but so those are our highlights, and I want to thank everyone who came out and were so engaged. It was a great discussion, and be sure to grab Harlem Rhapsody. Believe me, you will not be disappointed, and it's going to make you want to learn more about Jesse Redmond Fawcett and the Harlem Renaissance in general, but especially this woman that a lot of us don't know about, and we should. Yeah, so I highly recommend that you get it if you haven't already. All righty. That is the end of the show for tonight, and we'll be back on our regular night of Monday. Not this Monday, but the following Monday, I'll be back with um, Jaquel J, and we're doing that in chat form. It's going to be live, but it's going to be chat form with a panel of readers. So be sure to check out the Delgado Family by Jaquel J, so you can chime in the audience when we're discussing that
Mhm.
series. All right, everyone, have a great evening and see you next time.